Alright, let's get a new 30-minute game going. We got the black pieces today. See what we face. Play the caro-kann. I'm still studying the Roy Lopez. Here we go, hillbilly attack. Be ready for most likely take here, take here. Yep. They can't take back because their queen is guarding the pawn. Oh, there we go. Somewhat more aggressive opening. They'll trade their light squared bishop for our knight. Opening a little bit of a hole on this b7 square. We no longer have a pawn there, so we'll have to be wary of that. But I'm not super worried about that. This is often a weakness in our position anyway, so I'm sort of glad to see this gone. Let's see. What do we want to do? I think just develop normally and get castled. Nothing too crazy. Not venturing out too far. I just want a nice, solid position, especially if our opponent is going to be playing pretty aggressively right out the gate. Now, let's see what they come up with. Okay, so do we want to get castled here? I think so. Get castled. Yeah, sort of the danger here of playing, I don't know, like bishop to c7 immediately. Well, they're not castled, so their rook can't come down. We still want to be sort of cautious. So let's get castled. Let them make this trade if they want. That's fine by me. And then we can play h6 to force them to make that decision. Either force them to make the trade, which I think is favorable for us. I like having bishops here rather than knights. Or kick them, back somewhere else. Okay, so the knight comes out. Are there any other developing moves we want to do? We could play queen to b6 here. Hitting their b2 pawn, and also, like, we take their b2 pawn, we threaten their c3 knight. That also unpins our knight on e7. I kind of like that, actually. That also prepares the c5 pawn break, which I don't know if that's as normal. When this sort of like exchange variation of the hillbilly attack, where they exchange both their pawn and their light squared bishop. Let's see what they come up with. I wouldn't be surprised to see knight to a4 here. In which case we can play, so if they play knight to a4, that hits our queen and protects that pawn, so we can play queen to a5 in response to hit them with a check. Okay, so they take our knight. We'll take back. This is very interesting. We've got bishops, they have knights. So c5 is a little bit less appealing now. I really like the idea of playing c5, and then either if the knight is on its starting square or if it's over here on e7, playing the knight out to c6 to sort of put more pressure on this d4 pawn. I don't know if we want to do that. Okay, so they defend their b2 pawn. We lose this exchange because they have two defenders, and really, I guess the easiest way to remove a defender, we often want to trade off our light square bishop anyways, because we have all these pawns on light squares. So what if we say, like, hey, I'd like to trade away, let's offer a trade. Let's see if they're into it. We could take here. I'm now realizing, which I don't like very much. Okay, they move out of harm's way. This is hanging. Before we snap that up, let's assess. Are they threatening anything? Loses the knight. I guess this is an idea. Sort of, if we move our rook off of f8. If their queen comes out and hits here, that could be a very dangerous idea. Um, let's. Excuse me. I'm getting over something. A lot of these just lose the knight outright. Um, this is what I'm a little worried about. Knight to d7. We'll want to keep an eye on that. Is there anything we want to do to mitigate that? We could move our rook out to d8. Like this pawn isn't going anywhere, right? We effectively have the pawn pinned to the rook. So I think our options are take this now before they have a chance to like play knight takes e4, or play a defensive move like rook to d8 or rook f to d8, preventing this idea of oh, looking at this now, this looking at knight to d7 now, not only does this hit our rook, it also hits our queen. So that's a poor it's a poor situation for us. So let's play a defensive move. Um, Rook f to d8. I don't know if that's the best. They could sacrifice the knight, in which case we would take back. And I think that might be a good exchange for f pawn. I know that's an idea in the Alien Gambit, that variation of the caro-kann, where a knight comes out, just like hops its way all the way across the board, like here, 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 something like that. It snaps up the f7 pawn, um, giving white an early opportunity to really attack our king's side. That's not what's going on here, but I don't think knight takes f7 is the worst idea in the world. Okay, they play f3. I think that's a good move to sort of scare away our bishop. Let's retreat to safety. Uh, I guess our options are f5 and g6. F5, they can continue to harass us by playing g4, which I think is a strong attack. So let's drop all the way back to g6. If they take, then we can take with the f pawn, opening up the f file for attacking, or partially opening up the f file for attacking. Okay, so they may try to trap our bishop. Let's play h6. Give our king an escape square for any future back rank ideas. Yeah, and then we can also opening up that square to tuck our bishop into a nice safe spot. I like this. This feels like a good position. Now we can revisit ideas of c5, now that they moved their knight away. This nice natural square for the knight to live on has been occupied by their pawn since they played f3. So let's, depending on what our opponent does, okay, they move their knight to g2, a closed file. Not sure what the plan is there, but I think we can play this. Maybe they're gonna play this out, and then we can take. Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking there. That also opens up ideas of bishop to h4 check, which I don't think they can defend. I guess they could defend it with g3. Okay. Okay. Uh, so they can no longer defend that check with g3. We could force their king to move. Does this accomplish anything for us? The only piece they can put in the way is the rook, which just loses the rook. So here are the squares they can move to. F1, e2, d2. I don't think we get like an enormous attack or anything. Yeah, like if they move to one of these light squares, I guess we could hit him with a queen to a6 check. Let's throw in a check. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They're overextending their position, I would say. And let's see if we can make them sort of shuffle their king around a little bit. I think probably king to d2 is maybe the safest, but because we have this queen to a6 idea for the light squares. Okay, so what happens if we play queen to a6? These are the squares their king can move to. These are covered. This is covered, so they would have to move king to g2. And I don't think we can do anything from there. We also start to run into danger a little bit of like their king approaching our dark squared bishop, and then we'd have to retreat it. So let's hold off on that idea for a moment. Take care. They have to move their knight out of the way. If they move their knight to a4 now, then we have this queen to a6 check, I think winning the knight. Okay, so they move back. Does pinning, we do have queen to b5 or queen to a6, does pinning the knight to the king accomplish anything? I think the answer is no. One thing that looks appealing is pawn to d3. Not because we're threatening anything, I think it just sort of loses the pawn that we just won because they recapture. But it does open up this diagonal for the queen. Oh, and that looks like checkmate to me. It looks like checkmate to me. So let's see. Let's see if they go for it. I think this was overly aggressive. I think that was no good. So if they take here, this would be the move. Knight takes d3. I don't think impossible to see, but they've been playing fairly aggressively this whole game. So I feel like they're likely to leave their knight out. There we go. I think that's checkmate for us. Yeah, so I think they were likely to leave their knight out on this advanced. It's not really an outpost because it's not supported right now. But we'll go ahead and take that. Let's checkmate. Let's checkmate. There we go. Let's take a look at the game review. Switch to the analysis board. Nice. Quick game this morning. I like that. I like that a lot. Start the review. I'm going to mute this. e4 is a book move. Okay, so we get the hillbilly attack. This isn't even a book move. I think this is just not worth exploring for white. I think there are better ways to deal with the caro-kann. I like the advanced variation. I know a lot of folks recommend the fantasy as well. Let's see. Sort of normal caro-kann development. g5 is an inaccuracy. Yeah, you're not now able to kick a bishop. So I think what this permitted us to do was play h6, which is a move that we want to play anyways, giving us an escape square for a king once we're castled to scoot out of the way for any back rank ideas. We will play that shortly. They wanted us to play f6 here. That's interesting. I think that could have been fun too. This is another pawn break you can play. Typically in the caro-kann, you play either f6 or c5 as like your main pawn break. Not both pawn breaks, but one or the other. So this did give us an opportunity to play f6. Then I think eventually e5 as well. Okay. Yep, queen to b6. Bishop takes e7, we get a fair trade. Yeah, I think b3 was probably a stronger move here. e4 is a mistake here. So, oh, I see. So if they had taken here, which I think would have been, yeah, that would have been a strong move, and you get this knight on this nice advanced outpost. So I think that was a miss from our opponent, was not taking our bishop here. So what was the correct move? C5. Okay, so moving forward with the pawn break here would have been a good idea. They have two attackers. They can't take here, so we can't do much beyond capturing the pawn. But it does open up our queen side a little bit and liquidates their control of the center, which I think is nice. Okay, so that would have been a better time to play c5. If d8 is a miss, you had an opportunity to capture a free piece. Okay, so this is something we discussed during the game. I do want to see. Let's take a look. Bishop takes g2. Their knight moves out. So I wonder why. This wasn't an idea. This shows is very strong for black. This wins a tempo by threatening a queen and forcing it to move away. Move down. They can't capture, because if they do capture, I guess we take back. They take a rook. We take a rook. And then, oh, I see. And then they don't have anywhere. They're going to lose that knight. They're going to lose that knight. Okay, cool. So that's good to know. So that was a free piece with just like a lot of upside. I think that would have been a really good trade. They lose the rook, or we lose the rook, and they lose the rook and the knight. So that's good to know. That's good to keep an eye out on. I should have calculated maybe a little bit further rather than playing this defensive move. Ooh, I get to play a stunning move, ignoring the threat on the bishop. This is like a 10 move line. Oh, analysis isn't showing up. Sorry about that. Here we go. I'm not operating at 100% today, clearly. Let's look at the rest of this. Move our bishop out of danger. What? Bishop takes c2. I don't know. I think it just wins a pawn. Bishop takes c2, so we get a pawn. We lose the bishop. And we fork their knights. That's not amazing. And that just wins us a pawn, so I'm not super interested in that. g4. Bishop to h4 check is excellent. We'll win a knight with correct play. C takes d4 is a good move here too. d3 is a great move. Oh, I'm happy we found this. Yeah, c takes d3 is a mistake. Honestly, I don't know why this isn't a blunder, because it blunders checkmate. Whatever, analysis engine. Well, it's a fun game. Sorry for the missed analysis board on the first 5 or 10 minutes of the analysis. But I think that was a nice, short and sweet caro-kann to add to our victory book. All right, that's all for me. Have a good one.